you need to overcast the edges, the Husqvarna Viking Brilliance 75Q has a whole bunch of overlock stitches to use. Now, whether you actually have a serger or overlock machine or not, there's a time where even though I have one of those machines, I only need to do a short distance. So sometimes it's easier to just do it on the sewing machine than to set up the machine on and just get it done. So here's what we're going to do. There's multiple ways to select stitches, and you can find any stitch that just jumps to the right in your utility stitches is considered an overlock stitch. If you use the Sewing Advisor, where you pick your fabric, for example, a woven medium, and ask for technique number 2, an overcast stitch, it will pick the right stitch and the right settings for what you want to do. Now, there's times where you might want to deviate and pick a different stitch. Like today, I'm actually going to pick stitch number 7. Let's talk about the overlock foot J, and why it is so wonderful, and you should really realize why it's made the way it is. So an overlock foot is designed with a little extra, you can kind of see it, a little pin in there, something for the stitch to be supported when it jumps to the right. So if you've ever done just a zigzag on fabric and the fabric kind of curls and bunches up so it doesn't lay flat, it's just because the stitch has rolled the fabric. With a foot that's designed for overlock stitches or overcasting techniques, the little pin will support and keep your fabric nice and flat. So I'm going to switch out here, and we're just going to stitch down a single edge so you can kind of see, number 1, where to guide the fabric, and number 2, where your stitch is to land on the edge. So what you're going for is that the stitch actually jumps into air when it jumps all the way out to the furthest area. And once you try this a couple times, it's really, really easy. Some of these stitches can actually be used as a overcast and seam, and I'm actually going to show you both in this video. So you're going to find, we're going to do a single layer, then we're going to jump over to how to do it. I'm going to just do a quick little neckline, you might say, with some ribbing, and with this one stitch, nothing is going to change, where we could actually have it be overcast and sewn all at once. It's really universal technique, and there's lots of stitches you can pick depending on maybe how fluffy your fabric is or the look that you're going for. So we're going to just use this one here, stitch 7. I'm not going to change anything in the width or the length. I'm going to just leave it where it is and just go for it. Okay, let's take a look at where to guide the fabric. If this is your first time using this foot, I would recommend just try it on a sample fabric so you can kind of see where to guide the raw edge. And you're actually going to see, because this foot only has one toe, that you want to guide the edge of your fabric right next to the metal piece here. And as you can see, as it jumps out over right there, you see that it jumps into nothing, into air, but that's what's securing the edges from unraveling any further. So when you put something in the wash, it doesn't come out and turn into just a whole bunch of thread mess. So this is what you want to do. A lot of times people do this before they sew their pieces together. Sometimes you can do it after you've sewn your seams and you come back and kind of do it as on both at the same time. So it just depends on what you're doing. But it definitely, I will tell you, a serger is 10 times faster, because even at full speed, I am still barely down this little 5-inch square. Let me go ahead and cut the thread so you can see what it looks like. Do keep in mind that last stitch, if you try to pull this way, I'm pulling to the left, it is still on that little support piece in there. So all you need to do is push your hands away towards the back and it will release that stitch. So take a look at this seam. It's nice and flat, and that's the beauty of using the right foot for the job. And then there's no more threads that are going to be able to come loose now that that edge is secure. Okay, let's do the exact same thing, but this time let's do it as a seam and overcast. So I've got some ribbing, and I've put the 2 raw edges together, a curve, so I'm going to just lay this here. Now, anytime that you might do this technique, your ribbing is usually smaller than the opening, you're putting it around, so usually you're pulling as you go. So for today, I'm just going to kind of keep the ribbing straight, and I'm just giving a little tug just to kind of simulate, and then I'm bringing the curved edge up to the foot. Now, this might take a little practice. Again, if you haven't ever done this before, you're kind of doing 3 things at once while trying to keep things all lined up. And I'm stitching off to the side here, so I can see I'm getting a little bit more off the edge than I should, but that's okay. Knit is very forgiving. And of course, we would want to have like a ballpoint needle on, so we aren't creating any extra holes in the fabric, but this will give you an idea of what we've got, because it's all done at once, and every time I show somebody this, they're always so impressed. So here we have what it looks like finished, so nice and smooth around that curve. It has the stretch and give and the springing back from where you stretched it, and everything is secured. So we have a seam, an overcast, the stretch, and done all at once. So if that's something that you're after, this is something to try out. And yes, don't forget you need to overlock your edges, especially if you have woven fabrics that are gonna come undone. And we have tons of videos we're doing on this beautiful machine. So if you haven't checked out our complete playlist of free video tutorials, you can find that link below. Make sure you click like on every video you watch so it makes us continue to be seen on YouTube for all other Husqvarna Viking owners.